Good afternoon. I'm here. Good evening, rather.
Tonight, our guest is Whitney Clarke. Whitney Clarke is a candidate for Detroit City Council District 5. As most of you know, District 5 is Detroit's largest council district. Good evening. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. I'm living the dream here in Detroit, Michigan. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing good, man. And hey, thank you for reaching out and letting my colleague know that you are a candidate. Um, it's great talking with you, and I'm quite sure our listening audience uh, is anxious to hear uh, what you have to say, who you are, and what you want to do.
Absolutely.
So let's get down to it. Um, what does moral courage mean to you?
Moral courage. Again, Whitney Clarke, City Council candidate, District 5 here. And again, thanks for having me. Moral courage is it is the ability and quite frankly the desire in certain instances to be the only person in the room for that is advocating for what you know is correct. And so when you begin to talk about moral courage, the first thought that comes to mind when you say those words is, what will you do when you're all alone? What will you do in a situation where everyone believes that it's right to go a certain direction, but you know in your heart of hearts, based on your experience, or in this context, based on the conversations that you've had with constituents, you know that the right thing to do might actually be something other than what everyone is saying. And so you need moral courage in those moments. And that's something that I really take pride in. People that know me personally know I do not mind being the only person in the room advocating for what I believe is correct. And so I don't need a big crowd of people to agree with me when we know what is right and what is wrong. And so that's how I try to display my moral courage, even when I stand alone at times.
Fantastic. Okay, give us briefly who is Whitney Clarke?
Well, thank you again. My name is Whitney Clarke, and I am a husband and a father. I have two children here in the great city of Detroit, Michigan. I met my a wonderful wife back in 2014. We got married in 2019. I'm also a licensed minister by vocation, and I work at the Oasis of Hope Church, located on 7 Mile, well, right off of 7 Mile in Woodward, right behind Dutch Girls Donuts. I also serve on the Community Development Board entitled Living Waters, and so I'm very active in my community through my local church. My wife and I actually met in 2015 when I was a child advocacy volunteer for the Children's Defense Fund. It's a nonprofit organization that I was proud to be a part of from 2009 all the way up until 2015. And so early childhood education and advocacy, excuse me, is very, very important to me. So much so that my wife and I founded the Heart Next Door Early Enrichment Center. It was a child care center that really sought to engage children at a young age and give them an opportunity for early educational enrichment. And so that also makes me a business owner, or opening a child care center of that magnitude. I know what it takes to jump through the regulatory hoops in order to get a business up and running as well as profitable. And so those are just a few of the experiences and backgrounds that I hope to bring here into City Council as we look forward and try to just determine what we can do to move in the right direction as it pertains to our children, as it pertains to the aging population that we have, and as it pertains to just the general city services that so many Detroiters depend on.
Okay. What does common sense elected leadership mean to you?
You know, that's a wonderful question. And I consider myself an oversimplifier. I'm the person in the room that says, let's get it done. And a lot of times that takes what? Common sense. And you know just as well as I know here in the city of Detroit, a lot of times that's the missing element. Sometimes we're in city council and yeah. Sometimes we're in city council and someone, whether it's someone on the council or someone, via public comment, is recommending something that they know makes sense. but there is a statute or there is a item in the charter that doesn't allow us to just have common sense. And so I believe a large part of getting our city back on track and making this a place where every Detroiter can thrive is simply a matter of that. Cutting out the red tape, removing regulation where it is not needed so that we can get back to common sense solutions. Again, I think that's one of the key elements that we may be missing here as we try to figure out some of the simplest issues in our life. We gotta apply common sense for sure.
Right. Okay. Uh, what is the contrast between you and your opponent?
Yeah. See, the difference between me and my opponent is pretty clear. I am a younger person, and that's not the only difference, but younger in the sense that I can see what is coming ahead. I have the foresight to understand the challenges that we are about to face. And this is the biggest election, quite frankly, in the history of Detroit. And I'll tell you why. Because of the way that other things are happening simultaneously, and it's all centered around what we decide. And so that Mary Sheffield is running for mayor. You know that Mayor Mike Duggan is running for governor. And you also know that there's just been a seismic shift in the federal government, literally from left to right. And so this provides a unique opportunity for us to seize this opportunity and demand what we deserve. And I am the candidate with the foresight and the understanding of what's ahead, and I have a strategic plan as to how we master and how we win these big occasions, how we organize in a way that raises our voice to a volume that means it has to be heard, how we organize and we think strategically about the days ahead, like the reopening of the state constitution, like the Census Bureau in 2030. I have the insight and a plan that allows us to pass those tests while simultaneously doing the day-to-day task of city council, making sure that city services are working in a more efficient way. I also understand that at this turn in technology, we have a lot of extra additional resources that are at our disposal. And quite frankly, we aren't using those things to make sure that our government is working as effectively and efficiently as it possibly can. And so I am the candidate with the understanding. And I also want to make sure that I say this. I am the candidate who is willing and able to use every resource at my disposal. I have the insight and the creativity to create new resources so that we can get things done here in the city. And so that's why I think that it's clearly, in my opinion, of course, I'm a little bit biased, but I think that the choice is pretty obvious this go round.
Okay. All right. Next question. Why are you running for City Council District 5? This is the largest, as I said before, this is the largest district in the city council district in the city of Detroit.
Surely.
So, we like to know, why are you running for City Council District 5?
Surely. It is the heart of the city. I'm running for city council because it's obvious. It's obvious at this point that big development and corporate greed, they're trying to drive us out of our own city. Listen, we've been over assessed on our taxes in the tune of $600 million. In this city, you can lose your home if you don't pay your water bill. Listen, our taxes are some of the highest and our schools are some of the worst. And quite frankly, everyday Detroiters are fed up. I'm running for city council to ensure that my children, my son and my daughter, my wife and I have a future in this city where we can be allowed to thrive. People like myself have to step forward. I'm running also as a unifier because I believe that I can bring people together with common sense solutions and we can face the challenges ahead. Now listen, this is what we're getting ready to face. We have an aging group of seniors, quite frankly, that are getting ready to phase out of our tax base. They're called the baby boomers. We love them because they are the shoulders on which we stand today. And I am specifically sensitive to the challenges of our seniors, and I want us to be prepared for this influx of retirees. But that is simply a matter of preparing our children. We have to make sure that the children that we are raising and rearing are competitive. They're bright, they're brilliant, and ready to work out of high school. And so I believe that I am in the prime position to master that balance of assisting our aging population while ensuring that our children are ready to work out of high school. I believe that we can do this work, but we have to get started now. Most of all, we've got to fix the taxes. We got to fix the taxes. We've got to use this time, this reopening of the state constitution, to ensure that what we have moving forward is more sustainable than what we have right now, because we know what we have right now, my brother, it's not sustainable. That's why I'm running.
Okay. All right. You're talking about taxes. Should the Downtown Development Authority be sunset?
I believe that there are a couple of different options when we begin to talk about the DDA of 1975. Now, you have to be very careful when you criticize anything that Coleman Young has done in this city. He was a wonderful mayor for 21 years. But here's the thing. We have to ask ourselves the tough question. Does that piece of legislation, as cutting edge technology as it was in that day and age, does it work for the constituents today? And I believe, unlike what may be popular opinion when we begin to talk about younger people, I believe that we should measure 10 times so that we only have to cut once. I believe the DDA is a really, really big deal. I'd like to see what we can do before removing the DDA, but I am most certainly open to freezing it. I want to talk a little bit more about the taxes here in a few moments, but I'm open to freezing the DDA until our school system is paid off. That's a part of my platform that I'm very excited to talk more about, because we do have to do something to the DDA. There's no question about it. The way that it is currently set up, capturing the taxes downtown, has not allowed the success that we were anticipating to transfer and to translate into our neighborhoods. So we've got to do something different, and I'm open to doing anything.
Okay. Your perspective on tax abatement, tax capture, tax increments finance.
Yeah. My perspective on tax abatements is a very fascinating one, because I've got this unique perspective that says maybe our government isn't working as efficiently as it could and as it should. And I think that's where we need to take our first look, is figuring out where the corporate corruption is, if there is, and we believe that there is in the local government, where the mismanagement of funds are, or where that's taking place. And I believe you handle a lot of those challenges when you begin to talk about deregulation, eliminating needless red tape that takes things that makes it difficult to get a house, under code, or to get a business started. I think there are a number of different things, and obviously we have these big issues like tax abatements and and different things that we've been discussing. Nevertheless, I think that we should use every option available. But I'm most certainly open to removing those type of incentives, because again, the way that downtown has thrived has not translated in the way that we thought it should. And so I want to be absolutely clear. I don't think it's my first option, if I'm being transparent, because I'd like to see what our government can do if we work more efficiently, and if we rule out the corporate corruption. And a lot of times you don't have to drive big business out of the city, because that's one of the arguments that people are making, is that if you remove these abatements, then you'll remove the investments. And so I say two things to that. I think people are too deep in to pull out at this point. But I also want to see if we can make our government work more efficiently. And then after we take those more measured and calculated approaches, we'll take a look at the results. And if that doesn't render the results that we need, and then we're going to have to look at it. It's about time that we're going to have to take a serious look at the DDA of 1975, which is, quite frankly, a part of my platform.
Okay. Your position on making the city of Detroit retirees whole. They, as we know, they were hit very hard
Yeah.
in the bankruptcy. Pensions were cut, annuities was plowed back, medical costs went from anywhere from $350 up to $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
So, what's your position on making the city of Detroit retirees whole?
Certainly. We got to do it. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how and when. And the how is we've got to get it done. I've got a plan to create and generate extra tax revenue that I believe can fund the retirees. But it's of my utmost importance to ensure that the people who have stayed, the people that were faithful to the city during its darkest hour, they've got to be made whole. And as a young person who wants to work essentially for the local government, I think it's imperative. If you're beginning to talk about attracting the best talent, right? If you're talking about bringing some of the most competitive young people that are out in the public space to the city of Detroit and doing these type of jobs and making our government work in an efficient and an effective way, you got to treat the people. Listen, I'm a young man. I've been married for 5 years, but listen, we know very well that you can determine the way you're going to treat your current boyfriend based on how you treated your last boyfriend. And so if we don't treat our retirees correctly, then we're saying that we don't care about the people that are working now. And although you're working and doing the work now, but when you get ready to retire, we're going to kick you to the curb. And I think that we've got to make a better statement of who we are as people, and we've got to look after our retirees and our aging population. It's our obligation because, again, they are their shoulders are the ones that we stand on.
Mm-hmm. Your position on restoring the Citizens District Council, also AKA CDC.
Now that's one of the issues that I need to read up on a little bit more. Can you familiarize me with that a little bit more? One more time.
Well, the Community District Council was formed by our great Mayor Coleman Young, and his thought was, or his philosophy was, hey, nobody knows the community better than the people that live in the community. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so, long story short, the CDC was crafted, created, whatever you want to call it. And as time went on, we had mayors that stepped in and started clowning around, chipping away at it, eliminating certain districts. And before the emergency manager came in, this current mayor went to school with Snyder, Governor Snyder, emergency manager. And so this mayor asked or told Kevin Orr to use his power to eliminate the Citizens District Council. Why? He said, because they have too much power and I'm not able to run the city the way I want to run it.
Yeah.
So we need the Citizens District Council back.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, you can Google, and this is also to the listening audience. You can Google Michigan Citizens District Council, and you will see the origin and everything like that, and the benefits of the Citizens District Council.
Yeah, I'll definitely take a closer look at that one, and I've been glued to the issues even before the election season, and many people in city council can attest to. I've been in and out quite a bit here, but that's definitely one I'll look up some more for sure.
Yeah, please do.
Certainly.
Do you have children in Detroit Public Schools?
Well, my oldest son is 3 years old, Rebels, named after Hiram Rebels. And my youngest daughter I only have 2 children, and my daughter is 6 months old. And so they aren't in the school system yet, but that is most certainly why I'm trying to improve the quality of school of the schools because we have children. We're raising children here, and so no to answer your question,
That's
but there
right.
will be.
That's right. We have to improve, work together uh, to improve the quality of life of our public school system. We must get the education and training that our children need for careers, not nickel dime, $12, $15 an hour jobs. Our children should get the education and training that folk that don't look like you and I,
Yeah.
they come into Detroit and they're pulling down anywhere from 70,000 to over $150,000. Our children do not have to be walking around in restaurants downtown with the napkin on their arm,
Yeah.
running up to you talking about, "Can I help you?" And they only getting $12 to $15 an hour.
Let me tell you this real quick.
So,
It's been said here a couple of times by our elected leaders that we are training our children for the jobs of the future. And the question that creates for
mm-hmm.
me is who are you giving the contracts to right now? Your children, aren't you?
Yeah.
So what we need to be focused on is making our children competitive for the jobs and the contracts that exist right now because it's a pernicious game that people want to play. They train you for the jobs of the future and the future never comes. And so what I believe we should do is we should bring the trades back into our school. What is one of the biggest issues? The housing here in the city. And so if we can bring trades in a standardized a fashion back into our schools, when our young men and women get out of high school, they'll be able to fix their own roofs. They'll be able to do their own plumbing and their own electrical work. They'll be able to do their own welding. Listen, this is what we need to be doing. And we saw what communities looked like back in the 50s and 60s and so forth when the trades were a part of the schools. And we've watched our communities, quite frankly, deteriorate since those things have been taken out. And so I believe it's time for us to have a tough conversation about how we are preparing our children to, because here's the thing, let's just cut through the noise. All of us want to get old. And let me tell you what's going to happen at the end of your life if you don't have young people that are willing to refurbish the tax base and ensure that you are treated with dignity. The latter years of our life are going to be grim if we don't have the next generation of children who are ready and willing to take up these working class jobs and make sure that the elderly people that we want to become are taken care of. And so investing in our children, I don't mind saying it, is a selfish thing because they've got to be there. They've got to be the tax base. They've got to be the elected leaders. They've got to be the pastors and the teachers and the firemen and the firefighters and the doctors and the lawyers. They've got to fill those positions when we phase out. And that's quite frankly why I'm stepping out, because we've seen a lot of our leaders that are aging out here in the local election, the local political sphere, if you will. It's time for the next generation of people to step up, and we've got to be adamant about training up those who are coming behind us.
Mm-hmm. All right. So should DPSCD and the City of Detroit form a partnership to improve the quality of life for our students and educators? And I raised that question. I believe that there should be a partnership, not that the city take over our public school system, but partner with the school system. The city of Detroit have a annual budget of what, 2.7, $2.8 billion. And what Detroiters United LLC is advocating is that the city of Detroit, as I said, partner with DPSCD, and on an annual basis, give DPSCD $2 million. If you can spend $5 million on a dog pound, why is it that you can't give $2 million annually to DPSCD to help train the teachers so they can prepare our children for those 21st century, not jobs, but career? Our children will tell you, the teenagers will tell you, we don't need jobs, we need career.
Yeah, that's true. Let me tell you this, to your question.
Yeah.
We aren't taking no for an answer. We got to fix our schools because we're raising kids here. And I want to be clear about this. We got to do something. And I know what people are saying. The state charter, the city charter, and well, guess what, my friends? The state constitution reopens next year. The sky is the limit. We've got to do something that allows our
Okay.
children to be ready. So yes, to answer your question, what we've got to have this conversation about creating a partnership that allows us. So be it. They're their own independent entity. So that means that we should be willing to work together for the greater good of the city. That's what we have to do. And so I believe that we have to open that conversation in a serious way and move forward in a result based way, because what we have currently is not sustainable.
Hmm. Okay. You're in Council District 5. What are the core issues that you see in District 5 that need to be addressed?
Yeah. So there are a number of different issues, and quite frankly, they are specific in different districts. But the one that cascades over the entire city is taxes. And you see this as you are asking people to sign your petition so that you can appear on the ballot. Because what I like to do when I'm speaking and engaging with people, I ask them, what would make you vote in a non-presidential election? That's the question. If you've ever signed my petition, I asked that. And people are saying the taxes, the schools. I was talking to a
Hmm.
young man the other day, and like I said, District 5 in the heart of the city, so not on the outskirts of the city. And so a gentleman was coming out of the grocery store, and I asked him if he was a registered voter in District 5, and he said, "Well, no, I used to live here, and I used to work here, but I have school age children, and I had to move out into the suburbs when my children, when my little girls got into school age." And so those are the things. But let me speak more specifically about what's going on in District 5. We have a major project. I know you may have heard about the 375 highway being removed so that we can reconnect it to downtown. I think that it is important and imperative that we are ensuring accountability as these big type of developments and projects take place. Oftentimes, Detroiters feel like they got the short end of the stick. Oftentimes, when development
Hmm.
like this takes place, you don't have someone at the watchtower who knows how to ask specifically the right questions to ensure accountability. And so when we talk about housing, that's just almost self-explanatory. But when we also begin to talk about the projects that take place, there's another project that was supposed to be taking place, a development in the Kiefer Hospital on, I believe it's off of the Lodge. And so they were said to renovate 60 land bank houses, and they've only done 15. They were said to build a resource center in that neighborhood, and it hasn't been built. And now they are hoping to keep the deed so that they can continue their development. And so, oftentimes, what happens, like other places in the city, I know that we're downtown and we have the riverfront, and it's certain perks to being downtown and seeing the Detroit River. Nonetheless, when you just go back a couple of blocks into the neighborhoods, the challenges a lot of times are the same. We see schools that are vacant and really dilapidated, and we've got to refurbish those things and put them back to good use for the community. Now, certainly, we experienced some cold weather, and so we had the main breaks. I saw by the old King Solomon Church that there was a water break there. And so, again, these challenges are pretty much common to all of the Detroiters, but it is imperative that the council works to see Detroit as an entire city, while also simultaneously understanding what the challenges are in your district from block to block. And I'm excited about my district, and I guess I'm a little lucky in that regard that this is the district by God's grace that I live in. But we have a strategic plan to build on the positive things that are going on in Little Village and build on the developments and expanding the people mover down to Belle Isle and bringing it back up the 375 project. We have a lot to look forward to, but yes, our challenges are some of the same things. I think it's just a matter of who's advocating for you and if that person understands all of the resources that they truly have at their disposal. That's the difference that needs to be made and moving forward.
Okay. As councilman in District 5, what's your strategy to reduce concentrated poverty in Detroit?
Yeah. Great question. My plan for uplifting the spirit of all Detroiters is one way is by deregulation. You have to deregulate. Business owners like myself understand how difficult it is to get a business up to code and profitable in the city. That's a problem. Homeowners and people who are looking for sustainable housing understand how hard it is to get a home off of the land bank website if you can actually get one and bring it up to code. And so a lot of the challenges that we face are simply because of deregulation, a need for deregulation, I should say. Another way that you can improve the quality of life here and allow every Detroiter to be uplifted is by creating additional streams of revenue. And I have a wonderful set of plans as to specifically how we can improve our taxes and how we can create additional revenue for the city. And sitting in city council, it is important that you are basically ensuring that money is allocated in an ethical way and in an efficient way. And so that's what I'm excited about doing.
Okay. Your position on residency for City Detroit employees and mayoral appointees.
Say that one more time. Say that one more time?
Your position on residency for City of Detroit employees and mayoral appointees.
Yeah, we've got to,
because right now we have a mayor and 45% of his top appointees that's making $150,000, $200,000. 45% of them are non-residents of the city of Detroit.
Yeah. My plan is simple, but we have to get started now. I believe that one, we should engage in early intervention because what we're being told is that we don't have the qualified workers to fill these positions. And a lot of these C-suite opportunities have to go to people because they are qualified. And then listen, maybe we don't have an immediate solution for that problem. Maybe we have to phase it back. Maybe we have to move incrementally in the right direction. But we're not going to just stop there. We've got to train the next generation. And so if you're saying that you don't have qualified people, then that lets you know what you need to be training for. I don't think we should be training our children for the jobs of the future. I think we need to train our children for the contracts that are leaving our city. That's what we need to train them for. And so I believe, again, that if we have an influx, an unjust amount of people that don't live in the city. And let me just be clear. I've got nothing against people in the suburbs. I love Royal Oak. I go there. I've got nothing against these different cities and suburbs. But here's the thing. You care about the places that you live at. That's just, listen, and it's no offense to anyone. I want to be clear. You care about the places where you live. And that is, and we also begin to talk about revenue. And so it is very important that we understand how quickly and how much our money leaves our community. That's a way that you keep the money in the community by ensuring that the people that are getting the money are shopping at our stores and going to our libraries and going to our gas stations and living in our neighborhoods. And so again, this isn't, and I want to be clear about this. I don't have the approach where I think people from the outside are bad. But here's the thing. We are obligated to advocate for what is best for our people. And if that means we have to phase that out, then so be it. We've got to do better because here's the thing. If we don't advocate for our people, who will? Just tell me. Who's going to come and ensure that our people are treated with dignity? Who's going to make sure that our seniors have hot water when the temperature drops if we don't come? Who's going to make sure that our children know how to read if we don't go to the schools and touch them? So again, we've got to advocate and ensure that if we don't have the people to fill these positions, then by God, we're doing everything that we can, working night and day to train up the next generation through early intervention.
Okay. Let's see now. That was the residency. How can District 5 citizens help your campaign?
Oh, thank you so much. Now, I'm not going to limit it to District 5. I don't care where you're from. No, I'm joking. I would love for you to contact me at whitneyclarkfordetroit.com. Now, we are still in phase one, but we are making great, significant progress in collecting the amount of signatures required in order to appear on the ballot. But after we complete that, we're going to be running through the finish line in that regard, and we're going to shift our attention to just getting our message out. We have a message of optimism. As I mentioned briefly a moment ago, I want to expand the people mover to Belle Isle, and I want to bring it back up through this 375 project. I want to use this 375 project to ensure that we have different housing opportunities in this new development, in this new area that we're looking at, so that people can have starter homes. And so I think it's important that we stress the fact that Detroit has a bright future. This is still a great place to raise your family. This is still a great place to live, but this requires tender love and care from the people who are able to do the heaviest lifting, and that's our generation. So get up with me at WhitneyClarkForDetroit.com. Pitch in and donate at our website. Go ahead and sign up as a volunteer so we can spread this message of optimism. Let me be clear. We've got to spread the message of positivity, because that is what is going to unite people. That is what's going to excite people. And that is what's going to reignite the imagination and the passion of the working class here in the city. So I look forward to joining forces with you. You know, I've never met a stranger. Again, WhitneyClarkForDetroit.com. That's Clarke, ClarkeFor, Detroit.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Okay. According to the U.S. Census, Detroit's black population is 76.8%. Detroit's white population is 11.7%. Detroit Latino Hispanic population is 8.0%. Would you agree that we must have a black agenda for the 21st century moving forward? And when I say black agenda, I'm talking about a better quality of life, black generational wealth, seniors, City of Detroit retirees, our future, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, quality public school system, quality education pre-K through college. As I said before, not jobs, but careers. And Detroit black contractors, if the black population is 76.8%, Detroit black contractors should get 76% of city contracts. What's your feeling on that, or your position?
I agree. When we speak about a black platform, I believe that most certainly, the people that live in a designated area should be represented likewise. And so I'm not big on excluding anyone for that matter, but I think it's very important that those who are leading the city of Detroit are particularly aware of the history of the city and how many times our constituents have been fleeced and how many times our constituents have been placed in positions that are disadvantageous for their life, and they have created negative outcomes. And so it is important that we are advocating and that we are doing the work that is necessary to uplift people, again, through early intervention, because everyone says that we can't fill these jobs. My question to you, my brother, my sister, who have you trained up for the next generation? Who are you mentoring? Who are you ensuring can fill these jobs in the future? And so, we've gotten to this place by a number of different reasons: the bankruptcy, maybe a political party that has decided to put our key issues on the back burner. There are just a number, and we know the history of this city. There are just a number of different reasons as to why the city is the way that it is, and that makes the city of Detroit so very unique. But we've got to do the work to ensure, like you just mentioned, and I love the way that you put it, if we're 75% of the population, then by God, we ought to be pretty close to 75, 76, 74% of the contracts, because it only makes sense if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, educating our young, advocating for our people, ensuring that people have an opportunity to uplift themselves through not just affordable housing, but home ownership. If we're doing our part as a local governing body, I believe those things kind of handle themselves. And to the point that something needs to be named or called black. Let me reverse it for you. A lot of times people like to ask us, what does the black community want? And then the question kind of makes you laugh. And we say, hell, we want the same thing that you want. And so when you say a black platform, I get the nature of your question and to the spirit of your question, absolutely. But I believe that we all want the same thing: better city services, a responsive government, the police officers to come when you call, right? Your water man, your water line does not burst when it gets cold. We all want the same things, so it's imperative that we do the work and advocate for our people likewise.
Okay. We're coming down on time, but do you have any questions for Detroiters United LLC?
I don't know if I have any questions at the moment. My main thing is just really listening. Full transparency. This is my first time listening in on the show, but I definitely will be listening more frequently every Thursday from 8 to 9 Eastern Standard Time. I just want to give you a free commercial. But no, I definitely want to listen because that is important, and that's kind of the way I intend to lead. That's the way I've always tried to lead. I like to lead by listening. And so I'm just taking things in and trying to get a backstory from the different coalitions and understanding what's going to motivate the different groups. Because again, I'm running as a unifier. I believe that a lot of our organizations have been working in silos. And I believe that we can
Oh
actually
yeah.
we can
Oh
have
yeah.
we can have great results if we build on common ground. And so I'm coming in and I'm asking and I'm just sitting in rooms and just listening to how the conversation is flowing and trying to figure out where the overlap is. And I've got a good feeling that everyone who has history and love for this city and is willing to operate in good faith and open up their mind and their eyes to fresh ideas. I believe that I think we can do some great work here. And I'm not just saying that because let me tell you, I'm a young man who has the capability to live anywhere in this country. I'm here because I know this is a great city. And if we do the work that needs to be done, this will be a great American city, a light on a hill. Once again, I believe that that's what we're on the cusp of. But we've got to be organized. Our coalitions have to be organized. We have to be unified in our platform and what we are requiring. And we have to speak the loudest on election day. That's when we have to speak the loudest. And so, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Yes, you did. And so, like I said, we need young people like yourself to take the bull by the horns, if you will,
Certainly.
and change the political paradigm and dynamic in Detroit. That's the only way we're going to make this city great.
Yeah.
Because right now we're in trouble as a city and as a people. We have folk that look like us, but they're not with us, and so we definitely have to stop voting as if we're voting for the high school king queen. We must get off of the Detroit political hamster wheel.
Certainly.
We've had 50 years of status quo elected leadership. Look at the conditions of our schools. Look at the conditions of our libraries. Look at the conditions of the city.
Yeah.
We must have change. And so we're glad to see you step up to the plate
Certainly.
and take on that challenge.
Yeah.
And we at Detroiters United LLC, we will be in contact with you.
Absolutely.
And we have your contact information.
Certainly.
And if you have any questions for Detroiters United LLC, do not hesitate to call.
Certainly.
And we would like to have you back on the show.
Please.
Because you speak with common sense. It's crystal clear that you would be the council candidate that we need. Certainly. We need common sense, progressive leadership.
Let me say this as well. there are a lot of variables in the city, but I want to make sure that I say this. There's some good guys in the city, there are some bad guys in the city, but I'm presenting myself as someone who's going to shake everyone's hand in good faith. And whether you've done something unethical in the city or whether you've just been a good person all your life, this next city council is an opportunity to turn over a new leaf. And those who are invested in the future of our children and those who are invested in protecting our seniors, you've got a place here. If you're a business owner, if you're a big developer, I don't care how big of a developer you are, it might be an unpopular opinion. As long as you are willing to invest in our people and in our issues, in the matter of in the urgency in which we feel is necessary, you're welcomed here. But I want to also let you know on the other side of that same coin, we're going to advocate for our children. And if you aren't acting in good faith, and if you aren't willing to be fair to our constituents who have not always been treated with love and respect, you will not have rest in this city after November. I want to guarantee you that. If you're not acting in good faith,
Okay.
if you're selling things to our children, I know we're out of time. If you're doing things in these convenience stores and selling our children illegal substances, if you're mistreating the patrons and chasing them off of the lodge because you think they've stole a candy bar, you will not rest here after November. But if you're working in good faith, I look forward to meeting with you and collaborating with you and building on common ground.
Okay, and thank you for taking the time
Surely.
to come on Strictly Detroit and letting our listening audience know that we do have future candidates that have common sense.
Certainly. At least
Okay,
one.
and so we would definitely have you back, and let's stay in touch.
Oh, certainly.
You
I've had a
stay
great
safe.
time. And just so you know, and so your viewers know as well, I'd love to meet you in person. I will be there. I intend to be there on February the 1st. I'd love to shake your hand and hear more about what your project is and how we're going to be able to work together to expand the great work you're already doing after this November election. I look forward to meeting you on February the 1st.
Absolutely, absolutely. You stay safe.
Absolutely. You guys have a great night again. Thanks for having me.
Hmm. Okay, Detroit. That's what Detroiters United LLC is bringing forth. You would know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's just that you got to get out of this status quo mentality.
All right, you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. That was fun. As you know, I'm running for city council here in District 5, and I'm excited about the future of our city because I know that if we come together and get started now, we're going to do great things. There's no doubt about it. I want you to reach out to me at at Whitney Clarke. You see it at the bottom of the screen. Whitney Clarke for Detroit.com. I'd love to hear from you about your projects. I'd love to have you join forces with us as a volunteer, and you already know I'd love for your financial contributions. You're going to spread the message of the brighter future that we're getting ready to walk into while simultaneously putting our boots on the ground and making sure that we can see these things to pass. And so again, my name is Whitney Clarke. I look forward to hearing from you at Whitney Clarke for Detroit.com, whether you want to donate, volunteer, or just let me know what your concerns are, what your projects are that you're working on. I look forward to hearing from you there. You guys be safe and have a good night.